tight. Guard the doors both day and night. Password strong like shields of gold. Love and wisdom shared in bold.
Welcome to Family Cyber Tips Daily, helping you raise kids who are safe, smart, and grounded in a digital world. Today's focus are tech giants finally stepping up to protect our kids online. Or are we still on our own? YouTube says it filters content. TikTok says it limits screen time. Meta says its algorithms are safer for teens. But is it enough? Let's look at what's working, what's just PR, and what you can do, you being parents and caregivers, do that tech still can't, okay? We're going to look at what tech giants are doing right now, okay? Let's start with YouTube Kids. Curated content, restricted autoplay. You have TikTok family pairing. You have features still linked with TikTok family pairing that lets parents limit time, DMs, and search. You have Instagram's quiet mode, which helps reduce late night scrolling. And there's Apple Screen Time. Those allow full device level limits and reports. You see, these tools are better than nothing. And in my wishy-wishy world, and it's not impossible, really, you may have some vendors actually watching this content now to make sure that I'm not misleading the community or misleading the world. Let me enjoy that moment, okay? Don't take it from me. But yeah, you could just have someone from these, giants watching this content. We know that these tools are better than nothing, and so we never want you, if you're sitting down to watch this content, think that we don't appreciate it. We do. As parents and caregivers, we do, and we appreciate all those things that you're sending our way, but we need more. Okay, and a few of the filters or features that you're adding to tools that our kids use are quite effective. When used, we hasten to add consistently, and so you're doing okay. So this is not on you altogether, okay? But we know that there's more because we know that there are gaps. Okay, gaps still exist, and those are what we want. By gaps, I mean loopholes. We want those closed off, okay? So where are those gaps? Where do those gaps still exist? We've found loopholes. Kids still find workarounds, especially older teens. They're able to circumvent, the things that we're using as parental controls. And you can imagine how I'm still talking to you if you're still sitting listening to our content. I'm still directing this at the vendors, the big tech, the giants, the loopholes that we know exist because we've announced it enough times via the community facilities that you provide on these platforms. The loopholes still exist, and our kids are still finding workarounds, to circumvent the parental controls that we have in place for their good, okay, especially older teens. And then another place where we've seen gaps recently is AI content filters, okay? They're not comprehensive enough. They can miss harmful or subtle material, In my humble view, certainly from the community, having a blanket filter set across the platforms does us no good if you don't listen or hear us out on the minute details, the finer details. okay? Especially the subtlety, the subtle material that gets through. Those are the ones we want you to, make sure that you are preventing. At the end of the day, they all add up, but we see this as a gap, all right? Don't know how you can increase the frequency or the intelligence of information coming back from the platform so that, this subtle material doesn't come through. Soft porn is being shared across to our kids because the definition of soft porn is different across the globe, but those have to be discussed so that kids are not unnecessarily exposed to inappropriate content. Other areas where we've found gaps, marketing to kids is still very aggressive. Even when they are in safe mode, they still see the odd ad come through. And that can't be good. That's a huge hole. That's a huge gap, okay? And perhaps so that I'm not really overstretching this, even though there is a need to do that, is lack of transparency on how data and behavior attracts. We have no clue. We may guess, but no one has come out and really told us, because we know that there's competition and all that bars you or prevents you from showing all your cards. But ultimately, we want to know what is happening to our data. How are our kids' data, the behaviors they portray online and all that, how are they tracked? Let us know. Perhaps we'll sleep better at night, okay? But these are still gaps, and they exist, okay? So we know it's not foolproof, and that's why we're flagging it. And this is where we come into our own as a platform. That, yes, big tech, I've just shown you now, still have gaps. And those gaps can hurt our kids, okay? And this is why some of the information I've shown you already in the, the carousels or the, messages that I'm sending on the screen, I've been bombarding you with. If you look and read some of those messages there, albeit subtle, I am announcing that, big tech can't parent our kids. When we outsource it to big tech, we're in trouble. It is very clear that they can't. I've just shown you those gaps. And so we've got to find out what we must do as parents, what we must do as caregivers, regardless of big tech. No, at no point will we on this platform encourage you to depend solely on external resources, external assistance, because that helps you relegate your position as fundamentally the caregiver. The God-given responsibility to shade your kids is ours and ours alone. We celebrate all that big tech can do, celebrate all that these vendors are doing for safety whilst our kids engage on their platforms, but it's not their responsibility. Okay? We seize responsibility. It's ours. And we thank them for the work they're doing now and the work they're about to do after videos like this. Okay? So what can parents do? And this is not a suggestion. This is a mandate. What we must do. Okay? What we must do. Read my lips. Must. Okay? So there's no wriggling out of this. We have a responsibility. We can't depend on default settings. Okay? A vendor rolls out whatever it is they're rolling out, and we just assume it is set up for our kids' consumptions. No, we can't depend on default settings. We've got to customize privacy and safety, and we must do it ourselves. Okay? And we must stay curious. We must ask our kids what they are watching and why they like it. We mentioned this yesterday. Go on this journey with them, okay? There's a walk with them mode on many of these platforms where you can share screen time or review the activity regularly, you know? So it gives you inroads into what they're doing whilst engaging. So use it. It's called walk with them mode. Look at it. TikTok, Instagram, not quite sure about Snapchat. But ultimately where they gather, you have this as a tool. Okay? Use it. That's why the vendors put it there. The vendors will tell us, if I'm just assuming, I'm picturing this beautiful world where we'll be able to sit down with big tech and ask them what they can do more for our kids. And then they will come up and say, have you used this yet? Have you used this, that? You know, all that is on us because they're providing these tools and we're not using them. That's where we bridge the gap. I love that I'm bridging the gap, but it would be nice for them to send it your way too and bombard you with it, you know? But ultimately use the tools that exist on the platforms. As you saw on the first slide there, or maybe it's the second. Not sure. I'm not going to bore you. Let's leave that alone. Oh no, it was on the countdown screen and I can't go there. But ultimately, the vendor has provided a lot of things that we must exhaust before we start asking for more. They're going to give us more anyway, but if we're going to ask, then at least let's use what they've given us already. All right? So use walk with them mode. Like I explained, it helps, you know, you share screen time or review their activity regularly. And it all culminates into the fact that we have to be involved by teaching. All right? We've got to teach them wisdom. Oftentimes, and I can get why some parents will overstep or, you know, focus more on the rules, because initially just rules will work. But we found through questionnaires that doesn't really cut it in the long run. You know, teach wisdom. You know, there's a saying, and it's, I prefer that it was, I'm sure there's some Christian phrase that will cater for this. So I'm just going to paraphrase. But ultimately, instead of giving money, give them, instead of giving them a fruit, give them a seed. Let that stew for those amongst you who I believe are wise enough. Ultimately, a seed has more bandwidth than a fruit. A fruit is already done, but a seed can do more. One, it allows for consistency. You know, you can keep milking it. Ultimately, it will also give you a fruit. So seed instead of fruit. Teach wisdom. That will get them further, a lot further than just the rules. Because even the best filter can't outsmart a heart that's been taught to discern. Yeah? I hope that sits well with you, because that took some work. All right? But ultimately, parents must do the things I've just shared with you, okay? You must be involved. This is it, guys. It really is, okay? Big tech may be improving, and we've celebrated them on this platform, but you're still your kid's best line of defense, okay? The best. The companies may own the platforms, but you steward the heart behind the screen. All right? All right, folks, we'll bring this to an end. This is Family Cyber Tips, and it's daily. All right? Share this content with all those lovely people that you're connected with and keep learning with us. Your child's safety is too important to outsource. I've been your host, Lawrence Edem. Until tomorrow at 6 p.m. God bless and goodbye.
Protect our circle.